Hello everyone, welcome to Preterist Papers. This is the 46th in our series and it's titled The Biblical Basis of Government. You can find this 3-page printable fact sheet at preteristpapers.com. The purpose in this paper is to find the simple biblical principles that underpin our government and laws, and examine beliefs and behaviors that enable or prevent us from possessing the government we would like to have. This is not preterist content, but pertinent to our time. The Declaration of Independence states, all men are created equal. This is built on the biblical foundational principle that man is made in the image of God. There is no divine right of kings or innate nobility class. Rather, all are created equal as offspring of the same Creator God. We are certainly not equal in wealth, creativity, strength, or intelligence, but we understand our equality as God's offspring, and it's on this we base our understanding of the phrase, all men are created equal. Atheism, with its purely material mindset, results in the ungodly belief of social Darwinism, the survival of the fittest, the very opposite of the equality of all men. It appears social Darwinism is a prevalent belief among elites today. But in addition to being created in God's image, we have a fallen nature. Ignorance of the fall of man and the belief people are basically good is one of the most undermining assumptions of our age and in direct contradiction to the Bible. The corrupt nature of man is the reason why the sayings, follow the money, and everyone has his price, and power corrupts, are such reliable axioms. Scripture states with no uncertainty, all are sinners. It is those who believe they are not so bad, who are easily propagandized and can be led to commit atrocities due to their unconsciousness. They are also naively and dangerously trusting of government officials, news celebrities, and so on. People who understand the fallen nature of man are more discerning, capable of critical thought, and therefore less likely to be deceived. Let's look at number 3. All law is based on the good and is for our betterment. We live meaningful lives when centered on the transcendent good. When we love God, that is the good, lawful behavior follows, and we are protective of the rights of our neighbors as well as ourselves. And number 4, the law that governs all human interaction is simple. Do to others what you would have them do to you. Officials who do not want their life, liberty, and self-determination taken away should not take it away from others. Those who deny freedom to others deserve it not for themselves. Put simply in number 5, the only function of government is to restrain evil so as to preserve the rights of others. When government becomes evil, it calls those devoted to good to godly action. In number 6, we point out no earthly man or group of men are above the common man. All men are equal, regardless of what so-called globalist elites seem to think. God sheds his grace on us as we walk humbly with him. And number 7, we are warned in the Bible against having evil friends. Yet many spend countless hours with evil friends via television or other media, subjecting themselves to daily godless indoctrination into materialism, moral relativism, atheism, the lust of the eyes, the pride of life, and endless manipulation through images and lies. The time spent in meaningful conversation with spiritually minded friends in contemplation of wisdom, scripture, and prayer may be minuscule compared to the long hours spent in one-way indoctrination by godless personalities. Ironically, even though in a passive trance-like state, viewers of the media believe they are thinking their own thoughts and will repeat as fact what they have passively absorbed, unwitting of the hypnosis to which they have submitted. It is almost axiomatic, with this kind of passive surrender to evil, people are made intellectually effete and spiritually dead at best, and a propagator of lies and evil at worst. Caught in the material snare, consumers of big media believe in man as machine, where the body must undergo regular alterations through tests, drugs, and injections, instead of knowing themselves to be fearfully and wonderfully made, with healing taking place in cooperation with God's natural order. Man as machine beliefs mire people in technocracy and fear of death. In this snare, health and virtue comes from doing what media and politicians tell them to do, instead of listening to their God-given conscience and common sense. Take a look at number 8. The Bible tells us to distinguish right from wrong, but because of repeated worldly media indoctrination, it makes clarity in judging good from evil almost impossible, much like a drug addict engaged in complex problem-solving. Under the media spell, people come to believe that censorship is good and free speech is bad. Government rule over churches is good and not following illegal mandates is bad. They come to believe that virtue signaling by following media and government dictates is good and living according to God and conscience is bad, or at least impossible. Many believe dictatorial rule, purporting to represent the greater good, is righteous, and those who insist on individual decision-making are bad. This is the inversion of right and wrong at its finest, and is clearly demonic. In number 9, we see material-minded people want government to make them safe and gladly give up their freedom in exchange. They turn over their lives to evil authorities and medical mandates with no apparent limits. Ben Franklin famously said, "Those who would give up essential liberty to purchase a little temporary safety deserves neither." And number 10, worldly governments and people think and act perversely. For example, they demand everyone should take untested experimental medical interventions or lose their very livelihood. Government agencies simply claim something is safe and effective without credible proof, and cult members fall in line. Government directives and facts change daily without reference to what was claimed previously. With no historical memory, cult members fail to notice those who censor are enemies of the people, not those who speak out or disagree. At root is the unbiblical denial of the fall of man, which requires discernment and caution in all matters. Let's take a look at the notes. In A, we show the Milgram obedience experiments as secular evidence for the biblical teaching of the depravity of man. In these experiments, 2/3 of the test subjects responded in blind obedience to those they deemed authority figures, doctors in white lab coats, and went against their conscience to perform hideous acts. In Note B, we take a look at cult behavior. Many are puzzled by the demeanor of avid media consumers beginning in February 2020. It has been characterized by some as mass psychosis, but we regard it as classic cult behavior. Here we list cult characteristics in bold print and some of the behaviors we have witnessed. Number 1, unquestioning commitment to leaders. Cult members do and think what politicians and media say because they believe they know best and would never lie to us. Cult members refuse to think critically about the contradictory mainstream narrative. Fear, engendered by leaders, disables rational thought. Number 2, disagreement with the leaders is prohibited. Leaders mischaracterize and vilify those who question the prevailing narrative as tinfoil hat wearers, extremists, anti-science, and fringe. Afraid of losing social status and being excluded, cult members quickly fall into full compliance and even defend the illogical mainstream narrative. Number 3, mind-altering practices and rituals. Masks, tests, isolation, quarantine, distancing, injections, and lockdowns. As in hypnosis, these rituals shrink the mind to an extremely narrow focus. Fear becomes a virtue instead of courage. Additionally, people are required to become hypochondriacs and germaphobes and assume everyone is sick, even though symptomless, and require they ask authorities through specious testing to determine their state of health. This is quite literally insanity. Number 4, leaders dictate how members think, feel, and act through repetitious directing of the mind to fear-provoking images and stories. Obedience to selected authorities is presented as the unanimous opinion of all right-thinking people. Low-cost nutritional cures are considered ridiculous. Number 5, leaders are the enlightened. Prominent but compromised doctors and scientists are godlike, acting as final authorities. They embody and define the science using unverifiable studies. Attack, censorship, and canceling cause critical thinkers to self-censor. The noble lie is used for the so-called greater good. It's important to note that true science requires open, honest, and vigorous debate and is never settled. New expert information must always be considered. Number 6, us versus them. It's essential to censor and stifle any alternative views. There is one acceptable narrative and everything else is evil or stupid. Endless repetition is key to keeping members fearful and dependent. Abundant flattery is dished out to the faithful. Number 7, leaders are unaccountable. Mega corporations are not liable for injuries caused by injected products. Informed consent was not given, and record number of injuries and fatalities from injections are not reported to the people. Products were deemed effective, but last only a few months or weeks. People were deceived into thinking everything would return to normal after compliance. The ends justifies the means. Leaders use fear, coercion, lies, omissions, bribery, and threats to attain higher injection rates. Hospitals are incentivized monetarily to ramp up higher infection and death numbers. Number 9, leaders induce feeling of shame and guilt to maintain control. They state those who don't comply are irresponsible, science deniers, like drunk drivers, Nazis. Number 10, cut ties with family and friends. Believers are told the non-injected should be shunned and excluded. They are dangerous, selfish, super spreaders, and against society. So-called health protective directives have even caused people to abandon extended family and friends when they were sick instead of visiting and helping them in their need. Common decency, common sense, let alone Christian charity, disappeared under the hypnotism and repetition of the media narrative. Number 11, must bring in new members. Cult members repeat as fact that which cult leaders have programmed them to believe. Hollywood influencers are used. Disease and the apparent cure is the constant topic of news reporting. Number 12, preoccupied with money-making. One huge corporation brought in $36 billion in 2021. The media was given billions from foundations and governments to promote the narrative. 70% of TV sponsors are pharma. Number 13, myopia. Members of the cult are so hypnotized into the righteousness of their cause, they do not realize they have become devils who approved of a whole host of evils. Abridgment of virtually all God-given constitutional rights. Unprecedented wealth transfer from poor and middle class to the very rich. 500 new billionaires. They have also approved of worldwide mass starvation and poverty, suicide, mental illness, closing churches, social breakdown, education deprivation of children, and so on. They seem ignorant that censorship is always demanded by evil people seeking to hide the truth. When we find ourselves exhibiting cult behavior, we need to turn to our Creator in repentance. Trust in the Lord with all your heart. Lean not unto your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge Him, and He will direct your path.